Alright, let's send out some emails using Rails built-in Action Mailer. In this case, we're going to send out an email when an admin creates a user, although typically you'd want it when a user signs up, or if a user purchased a digital good, they would then get those digital goods in their email. In this case, to make it pretty straightforward and simple, we'll just do it when we create a user. So if we go here, create a user, we click create user, it should send out this email. How do we do this? Let's go and create a new mailer. Also within this, a lot of times you're going to get some issues. A lot of those issues can be solved by restarting your server if you have that happening to you. So let's Rails generate mailer. Let's call it new user email. It's going to create some files for us. And here within the view, we're going to have a new user email folder. We're also going to have a mailers folder here. Let's open that up. Cool. So we're going to be using Gmail to send out these emails. You could just as easily use SendGrid or some other service. And if you do choose to use SendGrid, I'm sure they have some good documentation to help you along. Like I said, in this case, just to keep it pretty straightforward, we're going to be using Gmail. So for whatever email you want to use to send it out, you want to put that here. I'm going to use a old email address that I have. We also created this file, which inherits from this file. Right, we're going to want to create a method called whatever you want actually. Let's call it notify user. And we're going to pass in the user. This will be coming from a controller. So again, like in the user controller, as the user gets created, I will then pass that user here so I can access its attributes. I'm going to do mail to, and then it's going to be, actually first let's create an instance variable. I'm going to do mail to at user.email. So when you do create that user, you will need to have an email attribute on the table. And the subject of the email will be welcome. Pretty straightforward. For your app to access Gmail, if you do Google Action Mailer Rails, there's a pretty good tutorial from Launch School. I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this code, which you'll want in, well, it says here production environment, which you will need if you're hosting this on Heroku. I'm going to put this in the development environment because I'm just going to be doing this locally for this demo. Just going to copy and paste in here. So we have these two environment variables. If you're familiar with Figaro, you're going to want to use Figaro now. If we go to our gem file, just make sure that you have Figaro installed here under the group development test. Once you bundle that, you're going to then want to do something called Figaro install. This is going to create a file, a hidden file in your config folder here. And this is where you're going to place those variables. I did it down here, but this is just the example. For whatever email address you want to send them out from, you'd put here, in this case example@gmail.com. You're going to then want to put in your password for that email for this app to be able to access using that email. Yeah. If you're having issues with that, it does mention if you get something called a SMTP authentication error, if you do click on this, you can change your Gmail settings, and you're going to want to turn that on for access for less secure apps. But you're probably not going to have that issue, but if you do, that's how you're going to fix it. We put that in our application.yaml file. One other thing that Figaro install does is it should put this on the git ignore. You don't want to, push this to GitHub with this file visible. You don't want people to have access to your keys and whatnot or your email password. So let's just double check that. All right, sweet. So it's working. We have access to the email. Now what we need to do is we need to somehow trigger this email to get sent out. if we do go, so we're in this case we're doing it when we create a new user by the admin. So if the user saves, let's call upon that new user email class, and then we're going to call in that method that we have, notify user, and then pass in the user, and then call a method called deliver, and that's like a built-in method. So should everything is in place. It should break though, which we'll see in a sec. I'm just gonna restart this. Whenever you, I didn't actually bundle any gems, but when you do bundle gems, it seems to like mess this up for the mailer. All right, we're back in action. Let's create a user. Oh, let's send it to digital destination email. Let's create this user. And now just like when you create within a controller, when you're doing a new action, you know, create, new, update, destroy, you need a view, or you don't always need a view, but yeah, you know what I mean. We are missing a template. So where is it? This is going to be the new user email and the notify user. So just like creating a normal view, if we go down here, new user email, it is in fact empty. So let's create it, notify, and that's again named from this method, just like with def create or def new or whatever. So notify user, I'm going to do html.erb. And this is actually what's going to get sent to the user. So here I'm just going to write welcome to the site. But if you want to send like digital goods here, you'd probably want to somehow pass in those attributes in the this is the user controller, but it feels like orders controller. You could pass in any kind of argument here, maybe at order or something. And that'd be accessible, of course, within here, and then which will be accessible within here. And then you could just list whatever you wanted. Or if you wanted to do like two-factor authentication, maybe there's an attribute where you create a random number and then you send that here and they have to validate it somehow. But this is what's going to get sent to the user ultimately. So this looks good. This should work. So let's go back. User, here we go. Let's just enter a password again. Let's create this user. It's going to hit the controller. It was able to successfully get created, and as we see here, it did get sent to me. Welcome to the site. All right, thanks for watching.